What's going on, everyone, in the Creative Kingdom Society? This is Jake Ballentine with Chuck Schofield, and today we are talking about the infamous It's a Small World, specifically talking about the Behind the Attraction episode of It's a Small World. But before we get into that, Chuck, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. You told me not to say thanks for having me back, but I can't
I
help
thought you
but
were going to say it.
I can't help but just feel grateful to be part of this fun thing. I even forgot about today's recording, and you gave me a nice hour reminder, which was perfect. I did watch this episode a few weeks ago now, but I'm excited to talk about Small World. I'm excited to be back. Excited to talk about things we've consumed and creations we've enjoyed. What's something that you've consumed since the last time we recorded?
So my consuming, I'm going to share something a little bit different. First of all, I certainly consumed a lot about Genie Plus and about how that system is. I consumed a lot of that, but I consumed an experiential experience last night. My wife and her sister decided that they wanted to create a murder mystery party, murder mystery event in which they took all sorts of different movies and took, experiences they've had at restaurants and parks and things like that. They must have spent a couple hours a day for 3 weeks preparing for this. 8 people, everyone had a synopsis of a character. So like we got there and we are handed a manila folder with a one page, like a one sheet about who your character was. And then the next page about like details of what's going to happen. Here's some key elements. Here's where you need to, ad lib based on what you know about your character. And at this point, you're going to get a clue, and then you go and try to figure it out. But experiencing that was like, it made me feel like I was at like Disneyland or something. It made me feel like it was an experience. It was something super cool. And I know that's totally different than saying like, hey, here's something and you guys can go and consume it. But what was really cool was this was something that was created just by, just by the imagination of two people, and spent time together, put this together, and it was a blast. It was so much fun. It was such a cool thing.
I don't doubt that. That sounds stupid fun. And
Yeah.
and and
Costumes.
and I think it's totally worth bringing up on this show. I don't think you need to apologize for sort of with that caveat of, oh, it's a different sort of experience. We have to justify even mentioning it. No, 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 no. Because think about what you said about like they were able to do this after having combined and consumed a bunch of other things prior.
Totally.
You see what I'm
Totally.
saying? And
Well,
then
they took
they,
all sorts of, I mean, they're both,
yeah,
nobody I know reads more books than these two people.
yeah, yeah.
And all of the murder mysteries and all that kind of stuff, and put this together. It was an elaborate story in which we probably spent the note on our sheets that we had said spend 10 to 15 minutes sharing clues, and then you're going to vote. We ended up spending probably 40 minutes because we were full on in a, no, I think you did it. I think you did it. I think, well, here's this clue and here's this clue. What about this person? What about that? And it turned into this super cool thing. It was like a role playing kind of activity. And, but it wasn't something that was just thrown together. There was a lot of work that went into it.
Very well written. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that just kind of was thrown together, but it was so cool just that like we did something out of nothing. This wasn't a game we bought. It wasn't anything like that. It was, I mean, yeah, sure, we bought some stuff, but it wasn't like excessively expensive or anything like that. We bought a bunch of props from a thrift store to be able to make it like it's a mansion in the house, and kind of, spooky things being close to Halloween and all of that. But like, it was so cool. And just like, I think I wanted to bring it up because people can have the kind of experiences that they have at a Disneyland or Disney World or whatever kind of park, Universal, anything like that, they can do that from home if they just
By being
create
creative,
something. Yeah.
by synthesizing and combining and drawing upon, or being inspired by, or deriving from everything that they've previously consumed, and then turn it and mix it up and turn it into some beautiful dessert party for to entertain 8 people on one night.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's like totally awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, it reminds me of other sorts of fun role-playing type things people do with from on the level of things people do with friends for free, like fantasy football or Dungeons and Dragons, to more sort of LARPing, sort of role-playing, sort of things with or cosplay, or even up to what's that one theme park in Utah? I think it is.
It's called Evermore Park.
Like stuff like that.
Evermore Park. I actually
Yeah.
am planning on going there during Christmas, because one of my friends who lives across the street from, I mean, in the neighborhood across the street, says that they are, he said, if you want to go, you better go before they close for the winter, because I don't know if they'll reopen again.
Oh man. Oh, that makes me sad.
Well, I think it was just the COVID, the closure for an entire year.
For sure.
I think that he was saying that was it, was just that, yeah, they're back, they're making money, but they're paying off debt that they incurred.
That's a shame
during that. So I don't know all the details, but he was saying, who knows? But stuff like that, super cool.
And whether or not it's at a theme, or even speaking to Disney parks, when they had that Jungle Cruise themed sort of skipper thing where you had to go around and play, it was just for one season. I forgot the name of it. And then the next year they had the Legends of Frontierland.
That Frontierland,
right? Yeah,
that was so fun. And then they got rid of it, and I don't know why. But then the other thing was, I am still a little bit bitter about getting rid of the Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, dude, a little bit bitter.
Yeah.
Come on, like
Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom.
That costs no money to hardly any money to maintain, and then it costs money to remove.
Yeah.
And like, I understand like COVID and this and that, but that park, like that, I don't understand what cost cutting measure that was.
Well, it doesn't make sense to me, because it was such a cool thing. I mean, it wasn't that well used, and I think that was just because they didn't really market it. And I'm not sure why. Maybe they thought because it didn't bring people into the park. I don't know. But like, Caitlin and I liked it so much that when we went last year, we planned the reason why, when we went there for 2 days, we did Magic Kingdom both days. And the reason why was we wanted to spend an entire day doing that. Just doing that. And we did. And we learned, like, there's another level and another level, and it just keeps going. Like it keeps going. And well, it kept going, and it was super fun. I mean, we even have at our house, we have like we have the map framed with a bunch of cards around it, because it's just like such a cool thing. That game was super fun. Then the one that you were talking about was really cool. I don't remember the skipper one, but that game, like, I've always liked those kind of games.
Role play.
Yeah, even more than just like, even more than just hanging out at a park, even more than rides, like doing those kind of games is super fun. And I think we talked about this before, but that was one of the disappointments of Galaxy's Edge, was that was what was discussed, was that they were going to have all this role playing, and then they, got rid of it. But I think that stuff is what brings people back. That stuff, like, people come for the rides, but people come back because of the little games, the little, like, People come back because of that stuff. I mean, it sounds silly, but
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
people come back for the janitors that make the bowling in that part of California Adventure there.
Oh, I
You know?
thought you were gonna say like the janitors that play on the drums, like the drummer janitors.
Oh, sure. And the ones that
No,
that
that
do water
yeah,
painting on the ground. Have you ever seen
yeah.
them make bowling on
I
it's
thought I didn't realize that was a thing.
okay, so it's over by I've seen it like probably 2 or 3 times. That I mean it surprises me that they do this, but over by like that area where the Zephyr is, where the Golden Zephyr is, there's that walkway where there's not really much of anything there. I've seen it multiple times where they'll set up they'll set up like empty soda bottles and they'll grab a ball and draw a lane with water in their broom and allow kids to come over and bowl. They put sand in these empty soda bottles.
I liked our whole conversation until that. That sounds that sounds like some Magic Mountain crap, man.
No,
What,
I like the whole thing until that.
yeah, that was a fun conversation until you're telling me that Disney's trying to entertain us with trash now. Come on.
I think they're just letting people they're letting them do stuff there. But
It is
anyway,
it is a fun environment.
long story short is I think that it is those things that make people come back. That's why we go back. We don't go back to ride the ride again. I have all the rides memorized. I know, you do too. I have the turns with the songs and everything. I have that all memorized, but it's the extra experience
You're right.
Is what people come
and
back
role
for.
play is fun, whether we're paying for it or whether we're just putting in all the elbow grease like y'all did with this little party of 8. No, that's fun, man. That's fun. That's
Yeah.
fun. But to make an awkward transition, of course I consumed Genie Plus stuff like you. Of course I consumed some more 50th stuff like Todd James Pierce. He's on episode 5, I think, of his series on the 50 or the opening of Walt Disney World. Great stuff. And I thought that he did a good series on the 64-65 World's Fair, but I went back and looked and I couldn't see it, but I saw, dozens of other episodes that reminded me that, he knows this period really well.
Maybe there was a part, maybe there was another episode where he discussed the World's Fair, because I know I remember him talking about it.
But
maybe
I thought that was a series, and I looked back and I couldn't find it. But I saw a Small World series, a bunch of other things that from that era, and so I think that was obviously why they had him probably the most on this one, more than any previous.
More than any episode, he was on this one.
But I mean, he's real articulate about this era. But they also, anyway. The one other thing I wanted to, I almost tripped into the episode, but the one other thing I wanted to plug was an episode of one of your favorites, Provost Park Pass, where he talked about whether or not he thought it was worth it to get one of these key holder things, one of these keys.
Yeah.
And he said some interesting sort of generic insights about like, oh yeah, well, if it costs $1,500 and you go 15 times, and it's worth it. If you don't go 15 times, then it's not worth it. So that's sort of good advice with regards to buying a pass or not, right? At what point do you pay it off, sort of thing? Sure.
Yeah.
But one insight he made that I had never thought of and never heard anyone else make, and I'm sure others have by now, but he said, one thing that these key holders are frustrated with, that we former pass holders are certainly not used to, is we're used to having friends and family come in from out of town, expecting us to come with them or meet up for a meal or be a tour guide or whatever. and being able to whenever we wanted because we had a pass. But people can't do that anymore
Totally.
because the ticket buyers have a different allotment of availability than the pass holders. And now, this was even before what happened today. Did you hear what happened today?
Yeah, I'm nervous about it.
Do you have a key? Do you
Yeah,
have which
I
one is
do.
yours?
I have the one below. I forget what it's called, enchantment or
So
something.
they
A
ran
dream,
out
and
of the
then
dream one.
yeah. So
They cut it off. That's crazy. So
because
I'm happy that I didn't have one yet. I mean, I knew I was saving for Florida anyway, but it's just like, I mean, of course I miss not having one, but it just sounds like a nightmare.
okay, so the reservation thing is real. It's a real thing because, so we're going this week. We're doing Oogie Boogie Bash, but when Caitlin and I went, we bought passes, and we hadn't bought a pass for our son yet. And then key, I guess I should use the proper word. So we hadn't bought a key yet for him. And then I go to buy his key. And then I realize luckily I check it before and realize the day that we were planning, because we were doing Oogie Boogie Bash, and the next day we're going to Disneyland. I look at the pass and realize that it's already blocked out because we already had reservations because we got them right away, but I didn't buy his pass. I just procrastinated it because I didn't think it would be a big deal. And then they were gone. So there was no ticket that we could get. So what we did was we bought a ticket for him for that day. And then what we're going to do is upgrade it to the same pass that we had. I forget what it's called. Dream is the top one, the next one right under it. But then I saw that today about it running out, and I was like, oh crap. Like, what if it runs out?
Yeah.
Like, what if it runs out before we go? But I can't upgrade that beforehand because then you would lose the reservation.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's an extra layer of stress, and already like every Saturday, that's the other thing too, is I go, why? I bought the higher level pass so it would have Saturdays, and every Saturday is booked like 2 months in advance. And so there was a day in December that I was thinking about going, a Saturday in December, because it had some work going on, and I was thinking about going, and this early it's already booked up. I can't get in because there's no reservation. So it feels kind of weird.
And I'm sure, all the smart people, both in and out of the company, are going to figure it out eventually.
I don't think they can keep it this way.
Well, even if, you took the words out of my mouth. They're going to figure it out eventually, even if that means abandoning this completely, right? Like they're going to figure it out, and hopefully they do before I next want to buy a pass.
Yeah, part of me goes, I don't know. Since I don't live local, I don't go enough to it's like when I lived local, I looked at my account and it said I went 40 times that year, so it's not like that. And so even if I paid a little bit more over it wouldn't be excessively more, and then I could have choice of any days. Now I'm kind of like, maybe I should have just done that. Because I can't choose my days. That's the thing that's weird.
And if it's just like, okay, I'll choose my days, but just have to buy a ticket every time.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like what I'm saying is like, but it's not like I'm not going, I'm more on the 10 to 15 as opposed to the 30 or 40. So if it's 10 to 15 and you choose your days, and then it ends up being an extra $200 over the course of a year, but I get to choose the days.
But no, ain't nobody going to buy a ticket to just go after work one night.
Totally. They're not going to do it.
That's done.
Well, for example, we were going to go, Oogie Boogie Bash is in the evening, or you check in at like 3:00 or whatever. Our plan was to go to Disneyland that morning just for like a couple hours in the morning, then come back to the hotel and do all that. And then because we couldn't get the pass for Jakey because it wouldn't work. The dates wouldn't work out. I was like, all right, I guess we'll just go to the pool or do something else or whatever, which is fine. Like, I don't know if we really need to like overdo it, but it's just, there's an extra level of tension. The whole purpose of the past, to me anyway, was to take away the stress of needing to buy a ticket, but also schedule all that kind of, the idea of just like, oh, hey, if we get there early enough, we can go for a couple hours at night before we go in. That was our last trip because we couldn't buy, because we bought the tickets. We bought the tickets before the pass was announced. And so we waited until that point to upgrade them, but we got in from our flight plenty early the day before. And if we would have had passes, we would have just been like, oh, let's go over to the park for a couple hours. And then, but yeah, so it's just,
And
it's
no
just
one's going to pay
strange.
for a couple hour visit anymore.
No way.
And that's different. And that, I mean, I know some people that have actually done that, and they justified it by saying, because I gave them a hard time about spending that much per hour, because they only went for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And they said, well, that's just like Cirque du Soleil or an expensive play.
Did they live local or were they from out of town?
Now they were from out of town.
No, because I've bought a ticket.
That's a good comeback though. That's a good, if you compare it to a 3 hour Cirque du Soleil. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but I've bought a ticket when I didn't have a pass and I was there from out of town for a couple hours. I mean, I've done that a lot of places where it's like, well, I would never, huh?
Baller.
No, I'm just saying, when I'm traveling by myself.
No, yeah.
When I'm traveling by myself for business and I don't want to just go sit in a hotel room and do nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And so like, I'll go to like theme parks or something like, some people think it's weird. I go by myself. I don't care. And I'll go by myself for like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, no, I'm not critiquing the going or the not going by bringing up that story per se, or even the expense per hour. But I brought it up because I liked that this couple compared it to the cultural experience of being equivalent to going and seeing an expensive play.
I mean,
and I just thought, oh, that's a cool comparison. That's not thinking about it like going to some theme park. That's thinking about it on another level of artistry.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? So I appreciated it from that perspective.
I mean, you're not going to get into Hamilton for $120.
Yeah, no, yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get into this episode. I was fascinated by Robert Moses.
Yeah.
What an interesting character this was.
Yeah.
I had heard some things about this World's Fair and how it was quite controversial. But first of all, I like how this show is not just about the ride itself. Like you mentioned, Provost Park Pass, he does like the 10 secrets revealed about the ride, which is super cool. That he, really cool episodes that he does. Also on a shoestring budget, really doing a lot. But they're not just talking about the ride. They take it and they take that experience and then expand it to what else this means and tell different history. And so you can't tell the history of It's a Small World without the World's Fair. But I had heard.
I think it's wild to think like, why not just call this the 64, 65 World's Fair episode? Why was this called the Small World episode instead of the World's Fair episode? That's what it felt like,
Because the show is behind the attraction, not Disney history.
But like you could even rub it like another way, like the World's Fair attractions.
That's true. You're right. You're right.
Like, it seemed like low-hanging fruit, but like that's cool. I like how they pulled it off. It felt like a very well-crafted episode, start to finish. Like, and I love how much history they were able to put in specifically about this guy that sounds like a character and how he did things his own way and broke the rules and
totally.
It's like an unofficial World's Fair and all that, and like just cause, and like, and he made like all those other big building projects in New York and the
Yeah,
United Nations building
there, I don't remember which bridge it was, but a famous New York bridge.
and
Uh,
tunnel and
Lincoln Tunnel, I think he did, and then they
well,
said he did the what's it called, the world's
the United Nations.
United Nations. He did that building as well. Um,
And
which
this beautiful, beautiful fair, like that looked awesome. And like,
incredible.
who know, like I forgot what the reasons were why a World's Fair could only be 6 months. And so this was a non-official one. They didn't make a big deal about it, but this was not an official World's Fair because of all these rules that he broke.
Yeah.
Right?
And he didn't have, because also I think that there's a World's Fair committee. Yeah. I think those rules just, I mean, not that they were arbitrary, but they were just rules that existed. And I think that I watched another documentary on it a long time ago, and they were talking about how he was the first one who really treated this as a business, as opposed to all the other ones treating it more like a nonprofit. At least from the actual perspective of the fair. There were certainly people and companies that made money off of these fairs, vendors and things like that. But the actual fair itself, the actual World's Fair, was more of a service to the world and service to the community and bringing the world to whatever particular city this was going on in. And he didn't want to do that. He said, well, I want to create the best World's Fair. And if I create the best World's Fair ever, I can't afford to pay for it if it's only going to go on for 6 months. It's got to go on for 2 years. If I'm going to make what I want to make, I have to be able to pay for it. And but then
that's also that's wild to even think that, like, oh yeah, 6 months, I couldn't pay for it. 12 months, I could pay for it. Like, really? Like, you're building 7-story buildings, like huge. I can't imagine. I didn't realize until this episode that was it the Ford building, was it the Ford Magic Skyway building was 7 stories tall?
Yeah,
that's insane.
Well, and think about how much they build in a city for the Olympics the last 10 days.
Well, yeah, and that's why the Olympics is bad in some places, but the idea that like all those Olympic buildings are intended or supposed to be, in most places, used later for other things and stuff.
Yeah, they use them for other things.
But it's just wild to think like there was that much heat between him and the committee over 1 season or 2. I would have thought there would have been a bigger fight over like 1 season or 10.
But I think there was more to it though, because he was also charging rent for the countries, which
so they all pull out.
Well,
they didn't all pull out. Some stayed, but
but then it became an exhibit of American businesses as opposed to a World's Fair. But it was really interesting because you look at Epcot, which, kind of the idea was like a permanent World's Fair. And I didn't realize this until recently, but the countries that are in the world, what do they call it? World Showcase? The countries that are in the World Showcase, there's a partnership with the actual country, and that country is paying, I don't know what portion of it, but they're paying for a large portion of the things that go on in their section. And I think it's like their tourist, whatever you call that, it's not department, but the tourist branch of their government is what's paying for this. I found that fascinating.
Yeah. And it's fun. That's what my love of Epcot is what piqued my initial interest in the World's Fair. I forgot which World's Fair. There was another World's Fair that I thought that they might have gotten the idea for the Epcot ball, Spaceship Earth, from the big globe, the Unisphere globe. I got a picture to show here in a minute too.
Yes.
But I thought that they might have gotten the idea for the Epcot Spaceship Earth from that. they actually got it from a later World's Fair, 64. Um, I'm having a moment. I don't remember if it was a prior World's Fair or a later World's Fair where they had a geodesic dome designed by Buckminster Fuller that looked very similar. I think it was the largest dome ever made. And then Epcot just took the Buckminster Fuller model and just lifted it and made it a sphere. And it was the first sphere ever made. But yeah, a couple years ago, I was there in New York to visit my brother who lives in Brooklyn for Thanksgiving, and my parents were there, and it was a frigid, freezing cold day. It was like crazy cold. So no one wanted to go except my dad went with me down to Flushing Meadows Park, where the World's Fair was. And I'm gonna try to share a picture right here. We'll see if this works for the recording. I apologize in advance if it doesn't.
No, it should work. It will work.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
So there's my dad and I. We're freezing right there in front of the big Unisphere made by U.S. Steel. And I love this idea, and that it still remains, talking about things that would last, right? When U.S. Steel was involved in making this, I mean, they weren't thinking of just a fair that would last 2 seasons made by this Robert Moses guy for bucking all the rules, right? They were thinking, ooh, maybe we can make like New York's Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower came from like the 1918 or 18 something. I forgot which one.
Yeah.
World's Fair, late 1800s, early, I don't remember. But like talk about like monuments that last. You know what I mean? They talked about stupid things like cherry Coke and stuff in this episode, but you know, I love the idea that, you know, the telephone, the Eiffel Tower, this Unisphere, it's still there. And they had a couple other buildings that were like still there, like just because I don't know, it's just a big old park. I don't even know
what did they use it for? Yeah,
it's
do you
just
know
a
what they
park. It's like there's an occasional event, and there's like a museum there.
So yeah, do they use it kind of as, is it just a fairgrounds that they use?
Yeah, it's
like this is a little interesting Disney history, but the it's called the California State Fairgrounds.
Oh yeah.
In Sacramento, California, after Disney got rid of the California letters in front of California Adventure, they donated it to the state of California, and they put it at the California State Fairgrounds. But that fairgrounds, you know, I've been there many times when there's not a fair going on. You know, it's just a park. You know, there's
it's like that.
Interesting. Did you know that my dad went to the 64 World's Fair?
Oh no, that's rad. Does he remember?
Yeah, he was 12.
Oh wow.
He was 12 years old. It's a pretty cool story. He won a trip for being his company's or at least his city's top paper boy. So
really?
Yeah, so he was a paper boy, and whoever did the best, whoever made them, I don't know how they judged it,
but
it was a competition that anyone in his town in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, the boy that did the best won a trip to go to the World's Fair, and he wanted to do it, and he won that trip, and he went to the World's Fair, and let's see, was he 12? He was born in 52, so 64.
Yeah. 12, 13.
Yeah. So anyway,
does he like remember? Like,
yeah, he said he remembers it well. He remembers both. He remembers going on It's a Small World really well.
wow.
He remembers I mean, every time I've gone on It's a Small World with him, he tells me the story again as if I hadn't heard it before. Which is fine, you know, but
that's great. That's great.
Yeah. So he remembers that. You know, going on Carousel of Progress, remembers that. he said he remembered doing the cars. And so, I mean, yeah, 12, 13. So how much do you really remember? But he remembers those things really well. And he just remembers how cool he thought it was, because he's from the East Coast. He had never been to Disneyland.
Right.
So he went to the World's Fair long before he ever went to Disneyland. And he thought, like, he said that he saw Walt Disney on TV, even though he was on the East Coast. He saw Walt Disney on TV talking about Disneyland. And to him, it was a distant, not possible, like just completely out of the realm of possibility. So when this came, he said that's why he worked so hard to be the top paperboy, to win
That's
that
so
award.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he wasn't the only one that tried harder, was inspired to try to do this. Like
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm sure there was other ones.
That's cool. And that's
And
cool that he won.
Maybe there was 2 or 3. I don't know, but he won a trip to go.
I liked a lot of the old footage they used in here. It would be fun to go and find him.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That would be really fun. And bringing that up, about sometime in COVID, I watched a really great documentary on the 64, 65 World Fair that was like filmed there and then. Like it wasn't made now, it was like made then. And it would be fun. It was on Hulu. And I looked it up right before we started, and it looks like it's not there anymore, or they've changed the way the search thing works, and I couldn't figure it out. But it'd be fun to go back and look at something like that and just stumble into your dad.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
Dad, like, oh my gosh, there you are. Like, oh, yeah. That'd be, and I don't know if it was the same. It might have been the same footage that they used in this. They might have gotten it from the same thing, because I don't remember Fred McMurray was in. There was that clip with Fred McMurray in the car, and Walt was in the car and looking down at him.
Yeah.
Did you see that one?
Yeah.
I forgot if that was part of it or not, but it felt the same. At least the filming looked very, very similar to that. It's worth looking up. We should put it in the comments or something if I find it later. But that would just be a kick to no, that's cool. I went there with my dad, and then you share the story about your dad. That would just be the icing on the cake to find your dad in one of these old.
If he was there. Yeah, that would be crazy. What a crazy thing that would be.
Because like our parents have video of us when we're 12.
Yeah. But
our parents don't have video of themselves when they're 12.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy to see him.
Like, I think I've seen like one picture of him from that, like, you know what I mean? There's like, there's a one picture a year of him that exists. Yeah. There's not like a lot.
Was he a Boy Scout at the time?
No.
Oh, because this documentary that was on Hulu, it followed like a Boy Scout troop through the for part of it. It was cute because it followed a Boy Scout troop, 2 teenage boys chasing some teenage girls, and 2 older couples. So you could see the park through the different lenses of ages and demographics. And, they would go on the Small World and the Magic Skyway. I don't think the Carousel of Progress was on there. And I don't think Lincoln was on there, but a bunch of other cool things were. And it was cool to see what other companies did and what other countries or states did. And, I know this isn't part of this episode per se, but just to tease the Hall of the Presidents episode, because this is related. That you watched that one already, right?
Yeah, I did.
And remember, they referred to some World's Fair where they had like talking presidents, but they were just like wax figures, and there was just like something going in the background.
Yeah, there's
what we got the idea for Lincoln and stuff.
It kind of reminded me of Knott's Berry Farm and
totally
in
felt
the
like
ghost
that.
town where it's just like a thing and voices come out.
Totally felt like that, in a creepy way, but just how it's just beautiful to see how an idea at one event sparks an idea for a future event, sparks an idea for a future event, and then so on and so on and so on, and
Yeah.
exponentially grows and grows and grows. And that's like that's the whole theme of what we're trying to celebrate here. Like,
Yeah.
it's so cool to see how this influenced that, influenced that, influenced that, and how like our family members have like experienced it like over
Yeah.
the same timeline.
Yeah.
You know?
Crazy. Well, you know, I made the joke that my dad tells me about it every time I have been on It's a Small World with him. But, you know, the first time I went to, I guess it wasn't the first time. So it was the next time that I went to, the second time I um, went to Disney World was with him. And then when we went on Carousel of Progress, it was such a cool thing because he was talking about Carousel of Progress and telling me like how this just seemed, not only did it seem like so crazy that there was people talking, but he said that he remembered that, you know, he grew up in a, you know, his dad was in the military. They had they were Midwesterners. They had very simple tastes, and they weren't very flashy. And so he said he remembered that when they were showing the decade before, the 50s and the 40s, I think he said when he saw the 40s one, and even though it's in the 60s, his reaction was, our kitchen looks like the 40s one, not like that's how, but like that's the thing. When this came out, it would be like the same thing as them having a 90s, 80s, 70s. Like, it's not like it wasn't that far distant when they
Yeah,
were watching
that's
this.
wild. That's
And
wild.
so like he saw that. And then also it was cool for him to just have the realization that we're not in the Florida replica. We're in
The
the
same
same
one.
one that
Yeah.
was in the World's Fair, then moved to Disneyland,
Except for
and
the
then
last scene.
Florida.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Of course,
yeah,
the last one. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
really interesting.
I love the Carousel of Progress. I love everything I've ever consumed about it. Um, um, I love that the Sherman Brothers wrote the song, and then right after finishing that song, wrote the Small World song,
Mhm.
like two back to back. Like, that's wild.
The
That's
biggest
wild.
classics that there are.
Yeah, that is just wild to think of. That some brother team would write two songs that have been played so many times. Like, compare it to like other music. Like, and it's just mind blowing to think, whether that's annoying or not. It's still impressive. But
I don't think there's been a single song that has been played publicly more times than It's a Small World.
yeah, they said like 50 million times or 50 million
Uh,
more or something like that.
and the idea that the sun never sets on It's a Small World.
Oh yeah, they didn't
That
mention
song
that. That's
is
a good point.
they
Yeah,
didn't mention that, but
they
somewhere else
should have.
mentioned it.
Yeah, that's low
How,
hanging fruit. They should have said
yeah,
that.
that song is
Yeah,
played 24 hours a day somewhere.
somewhere. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But talking about some of our favorite content creators and some complimentary content to consume here. I saw a fantastic episode of DSNY Newscast a year or so ago, where he pitched upgrading not just the last scene, right?
Oh, of
Uh,
Carousel.
right.
Uh-huh.
But also including in the first scene, like the pre-show scene, um, an animatronic of Walt Disney
Yes.
presenting this show.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
And with the way he presented it, I mean, it sounds like a good idea on a napkin, but the way he presented it gave me chills.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic episode of one of his armchair Imagineering things. But then I heard just the other day I heard on WDW News Today or Tonight or something, Tom Corliss said Walt specifically said he never wanted an audio animatronic made of him.
Huh. Really?
And it'd be like, damn, without that quote, I think you'd have a green light to do it now. I think they're sophisticated enough now where you get one of those A1000s and like you could pull it off and make it look fantastic. and like really honor the man, like in a great way. But man, if he said, don't you ever do it, I'd hate to be the person that greenlit that project. Like, that's a tough one.
I don't know. I'm gonna go.
If
I'm
he
gonna push
said it,
back.
I want to respect him,
I
man.
know, but why did he say it? Was it like Prince
Was it
saying it for
conditional?
religious reasons? Like I don't know if you know about that or not, but
Yeah,
Prince
yeah,
and it was done on the Super Bowl, and there were some people that are
yeah.
kind of upset about it. Was it like that, or was it like him saying something like,
It's
"Yeah,
not
I
good
don't want a
enough.
statue of me. I don't like." Was
False
it him being
modesty.
was him
Yeah,
being modest? Was it him saying, "No, no, 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 no. This isn't about me. It's about that." Like, I want to know context of
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
quote,
I want the
because
context too. We gotta look that up.
because if it's
We
him
should look that
saying,
up. Yeah.
if it's him just being like, no, 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 there shouldn't be, or I don't, or even I don't think there ever should be a audio animatronic of me, because this isn't a place about me. This is about this stuff.
Or
And
maybe it was like, no, they're not good enough. Maybe they're not
could
good enough
be,
yet.
could be. I think,
But you're right. We need the context for this quote. We should go and find it now.
because it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Sometimes you go, something's not really yours anymore. Like if he says, I don't want them to make this about me because it's not about me, it's about all of this other stuff. And it's like, well, 60 years later, it is about you, and we want that. I don't know. That's just kind of
And if
that's
they
my
did
two
it
cents
right,
on it.
if they did it right,
Totally.
yeah.
But I was just thinking if he like did some kind of like corporate spot, like like if he's like, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the park, and we're so excited to show you the carousel of progress, but first let me introduce my greatest protege, Bob Chapek.
No, 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 no,
If they did something like terrible like that.
no, yeah. No, like the way DSNY guy pitched it, like I just envisioned, I forgot if he said it like this or not, but I envisioned like just using the audio from pre-existing,
Of course, you
make
don't
make
even
the
need
set look like the set of when he's explaining it,
totally.
like and just he doesn't even need to walk. He could just stand by the desk and point to the thing and welcome
Totally.
and like give everyone the
I would love a
chill.
Walt animatronic of him uh pointing at the map of Epcot,
Yeah, yeah,
the whole that whole deal.
yeah.
I guess because I also heard that he said something about not wanting a statue of himself either.
Okay, well,
I
okay.
that
They
but I think that
they
was
wrote
about
that. Yeah.
modesty, not about like, that's what I was saying. Is it like Prince, and was it like a religious feeling, or like I don't think this should be done, or something like that?
Yeah.
And we're in a very weird world right now about stuff like that with CGI, as they're recreating characters in movies.
Or
Star
deep
Wars, we've
fake.
seen it. What's that?
Like deep fake and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of issues with like, can can you do that? Can you
Right.
take
Yeah. Likeness.
somebody's likeness and put them in? Can you do that? Are you allowed to do that? I don't know. Who makes the money on that? Who's paid? Does it go to their estate? Does it, any of those kind of things? Um, it's just a very interesting, really interesting thing. And I don't know, it won't be that long until you're like, I think it's gonna be really cool. The Rock's gonna co-star in his next movie with John Wayne. I mean, they
Oh wow.
I mean, they
I thought you were
could.
gonna
I don't
say
know.
have the Rock animatronic by the Walt Disney one. Like
Well, he produced this show, so maybe.
yeah, no, yeah, no. No, I'm glad there is not a Rock animatronic yet. We don't need some sort of Ellen animatronic repeat. We don't need
No.
Donald Trump looking like Hillary Clinton with different hair.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
weird.
the Joe Biden one looks all right, I guess.
Uh,
It's not too like, but it still looks off. And I mean the big old Navi 81 points of articulation, best one they've ever done. looks fantastic, but she's not human,
Human is tough.
and I
Human
don't
is
know,
really tough.
like if Walt's face didn't look exactly right, mm, I don't care how articulate the movements were. If the face wasn't nailed,
Yeah.
even Abraham Lincoln's face. I mean, I understand the one that they have today is the most articulate one they've ever done, but his face looks a little off to me still.
Well, yeah, it still doesn't look like a person talking. I wonder why Disney's never got into doing holograms, because some of that stuff's really cool, like in shows,
Well, I think what I think. Um, no, you're right, and those things are expensive, right?
Are they?
But you know what Universal tried to do with their screen-based people, and like the Spider-Man is the same sort of screen, or the Stormtroopers on Rise of the Resistance. Like,
Stormtrooper. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
like,
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
but
The Spider-Man, it's probably the best I've ever seen of that.
yeah,
Yeah, because you've only seen it on video. When you're
yeah.
in there, yes, I know it's not a human in front, but I haven't seen anything look more.
Well, what about like Kylo Ren and the other guy walk in on the Rise of the Resistance?
Yeah.
You see their shadows.
Yeah, that's cool because you see their
Like,
shadows, which is super cool.
but
That feels
still,
realistic because you're also seeing it's not human. It's a mask. You're
right.
not seeing, though there is the other guy.
Other guy,
I forget his
yeah.
name. There is that guy, but it's also kind of blocked. You don't have like a direct view, but they do something in the Spider-Man thing where they must have multiple layers of clear screens or something like
Ray.
that.
What about Ray in the line?
Well, yeah, but she's supposed to be a hologram though.
But does it look like the Spider-Man, or does
No,
it,
Spider-Man looks way better than that.
Oh wow,
Yeah, because with Ray, it's supposed to look like
yeah,
a
yeah,
hologram.
yeah.
So you're it is a hologram. That effect is so good. That effect, what they do there is such a good effect, and like I don't even want to say it. Is you can look it up on YouTube if you want, but if you didn't look it up on YouTube, it'd be really hard to just figure it out on how they did that.
Oh yeah. Let's not spoil it, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like,
Yeah.
if you want to watch it, you can go look it up on YouTube. But no, it's like
I feel bad, like we already spoiled some things. I'm sorry, everybody.
I don't think so. I don't think we did.
Okay.
I don't think we did. But yeah, well, let's put it this way: he looks a lot more lifelike as the projection on the screen than he would if it was a Tom Holland animatronic.
Oh, for sure.
I thought it was really good. It was very impressive. The lighting was perfect. In all fairness, it's the best part of the attraction.
Oh well, no, it looks like it probably is.
the pre-show. It's not that it's but after I went on it a couple times, the first time I went on it, I thought, wow, this is amazing. This is incredible. And then I went on it a second and a third time. And by the time I went on it the third time, it was like, if I want to do a shooting game, I think I'll choose Toy Story or Buzz, because those are more fun. Like it does feel a little video game-esque.
That's fascinating.
It feels like a video game. It's an elaborate game. Anyway, we should get back to It's a Small World.
It's all related.
Uniform parts. What do you think about that part? Did you know about that?
I heard pieces of it prior, but that was cool to realize, like, oh my gosh, the first version of all of these pieces were one of a kinds.
Yeah, that they had to make
until they made a systematized and uniform way of maintaining these things.
Did they insinuate that the New York World's Fair version had more sophisticated dolls?
That I don't.
Did they simplify them? Is that what they said? Like, it kind of felt like that they simplified them so they could fix it.
I think you meant this. I don't know. I don't know. That'd be an interesting
Or was
thing to
that just
look
the
up.
insides of them?
I think
Or
he
what
meant,
were they actually different?
yeah, that'd be an interesting thing to look up. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But the idea that you had to, prefab all these intricate, unique parts ahead of time in anticipating the maintenance to prevent the downtime, that was cool.
Yeah, well, and the idea that they've basically created their own uniform system
Yeah.
for all. Okay, these are human-esque animatronics. These are animal-like animatronics, and created a system so that they I don't know, they have a giant warehouse with a bunch of these, or they must, with all of
Uh,
the things.
listening to Bob Gurr talk about making the first Lincoln and stuff, and how
Mhm.
it's like airplane parts, and like they were just pulling and making things and just being creative. And then once you're done, well, okay. Did anyone write down how we did this? Like, and then reverse engineer the plans and the parts and the pieces and all that. Yeah, no, they could make an episode just on that. That
Totally.
would be interesting. Just on maintenance. Yeah.
So, and I don't know. I feel it's definitely related, but we'll probably get deeper into this on the president's episode. But I I really loved when they did the headphone era of Lincoln. I thought that was
Getting
so
your
much
hair
fun.
cut.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, that was one thing that yeah, the haircut.
audio ear candy. Yeah, no, yeah, the like sophisticated sound. That was an interesting way to freshen up that attraction.
Well, and you felt like because there were some spots where there was conversations going on, and you feel like they're behind you, and it's not just here. Like you feel like they're actually behind you.
Yeah,
I thought it was a really cool, and maybe they went overboard on like, yeah, ear candy. Maybe they almost did the equivalent of when 3D first came out, and they did a lot of this, all the time. But still, I don't think it probably didn't sample very well, because I think it only lasted for like a couple of years
yeah.
before they changed it back. But I liked it.
Well, I think those things, the head earphones were expensive.
I'm sure those were very expensive earphones.
Yeah.
Um, so how much do you know about Admiral Joe Fowler outside of this? I mean, I know his name. I just don't know that much about him.
Yeah, not as much as a lot of these others, but he sounds like quite the character, and one of the few that could tell Walt no. And the idea, oh, we can't do it in 11 months. Okay, but I'm in charge. We're going to do it. And now we got 9 months. Okay, figure it out, Joe. Like, and
Yeah.
he was a guy that helped get all this done, helped get Walt Disney World done.
I didn't even know who Admiral Joe Fowler was the first time I rode the boat.
Oh yeah, and then they named the boat after
They
him.
named
Yeah,
the
yeah,
boat that
yeah.
goes from the parking
Yeah.
over to the over to Magic Kingdom, and I didn't know. Boats have names. Boats.
Yeah.
This is called the Admiral Joe Fowler. I was
Sounds
like,
appropriate. Why
interesting
question
name.
it?
Yeah, but I had no idea like anything about it.
Yeah.
But I did find that funny. And whoever that was who was talking before about how Walt didn't like anyone who said things like, "No, it can't be done. It can't." Like, but it is interesting that he was able to, and he was able to say, "No, we can't do this." But
Well,
then,
think of just how spread thin they were, how thinly spread they were right then. And like with such a short amount of time left, who's going to get mad at you for telling someone, no, we can't do a 5-year project in 11 months?
Mhm.
And then Walt and Joan, I'm sorry, what was her name? The Pepsi rep?
I know her name was Joan.
Was it Joan Crawford? Am I remembering that right?
It sounded right. Yeah.
But those two made it happen. They made their corporations bend to their creative will.
Yeah.
And I like that caveat or that twist, right? That trope of the creatives winning out over the stuffy suits
Yeah.
or naysayers, right?
I also love the section of them talking about Mary Blair.
Oh yeah. I had my thumb on that page because we had to mention her. I naively didn't realize that she didn't come up through Imagineering.
Mm.
This, like, I knew that little of her, and I
Mhm.
guess I had heard here and there that she had done other outside work, but I didn't realize that she was like an outside talent that was pulled in for
Mhm.
this, right?
Mhm.
And that her and Walt butted heads, and she quit, and like she didn't come back, and I didn't understand that because I thought, wait, she did that mural in Tomorrowland. That was after Walt died. She did the mural in the Contemporary Hotel
Contemporary, yeah, the huge one.
after
What
Walt
what
died.
mural in Tomorrowland did she do?
The one that's on the it was, I think it's still there, but behind a facade now, because who would dare take this down? It's on the Buzz Lightyear building. It had a bunch of children that looked like the Small World, same design, same style, her style of children, blocky and
Yeah.
simple, flat. But the theme was, what is tomorrow? Children are tomorrow.
Mm.
Like right, like
What
what
part of
is
the
more.
building is that on? I just don't know where you're.
So like if you used to like be able to ride the People Mover, and you'd see the Star Tours mural on the Star Tours building and on the Buzz Lightyear building, or it was the America Circle Vision 3D America movie
Mhm.
building. It was on that side at that level of the tracks. It was like beige and brown and a bunch of
So is it
kids.
still up there if you look up there?
I think it's behind a facade now.
Oh.
I think either they took it down finally and I'm misremembering, or they covered it up with whatever's currently there.
I
Yeah.
wonder, I'll on Friday I'll ride the rockets and see if I can see anything.
Yeah, it's just generic wall now. I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. I don't remember what I heard in the past about it's still there, but it's behind something. I don't know where I got that idea,
Mm.
but it looks very similar to the one in the Contemporary. It
Mm.
looks like her art, but I just didn't realize that she like did those children's books and those dairy ads and Hanes ads, and Walt said,
Yeah.
I like those children, do something like that.
Uh-huh.
And then her style, and then even after she quit that project, Raleigh Crump was able to call her up and say, hey, can you sketch me out the clock real quick?
Yeah.
And like, okay. And then
Yeah.
so it's in every country, or like every continent except Antarctica, like, and Australia and Africa, sorry, not every continent, but that it's around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, more
Which,
appropriate. So
which is so cool. And Rolly Crump too, like his story's fascinating. I think we talked about it during the Haunted Mansion episode, but still worth mentioning that he's this Disney legend, but he quit soon after Walt died. He wasn't around much longer. He started in the Florida project. He did some of that. I don't even know if he stayed all the way till opening. If he did, he didn't stick around that long. It was in the early 70s that he left the company, which I found really interesting. He also did a lot of the cool things at Knott's Berry Farm. He created.
I forgot what he did at Knott's.
I think he
Was
was
he part of Knott's Berry Tales, or was who was part of
no,
Knott's
or was
Berry?
Bob Gurr a part of
Yeah. Bob
Bob Gurr
Gurr.
did
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
Knott's
yeah.
Berry Tales.
What
But
did
I
Ronald
I
Crump do?
I think he did. I think he was involved in like the mine train and stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember the crossover here. here's more stuff worth looking up after, or people correcting us in the comments.
Totally, but it's just interesting, and I know that he did stuff from other parks, because he didn't stick around. He wasn't a Disney guy. He was a no. It says he was. I'm looking it up right now. Wikipedia. He did do Knott's Berry Tales, so it
Okay,
wasn't
good.
Bob Gurr. It was Rolly Crump.
I have vague memories of that as a child. I just remember so many animatronics, um, so much detail back in
Do
the
you
day, man.
do you
Like,
know how much the new Knott's Berry Tales? Do you know how much it pays homage to the original one?
uh, no, but I just know it's all screen based and like,
It's a shooting game. It's
yeah,
a
yeah.
screen-based shooting game.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, I'm glad that was a cool way to like celebrate the anniversary of the park and everything. And that's a cool
Totally.
homage. I mean, but I don't know how much of it is like, it would be cool if it was like scene for scene, just on a screen and you could throw pies and stuff. Like that'd be kind of cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been on it.
Hey, I'm looking at this now. He did a lot of stuff at Busch Gardens as well, which
Wait.
uh Busch Gardens is maybe outside of Universal, but Busch Gardens is the only park I've been to that's at the same caliber of the big boys of Disney and Universal.
Yeah, I've never
Universal.
been to one, but I want to. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been to the one in Virginia, and that's the original one, and it's really cool. It's very well themed. The cool thing about it is now maybe it's changed now. I don't know, but when I went to it back in like 2001, when I went to it in 2001, um, it it wasn't IP based. It was all themed. It was like kind of a medieval theme, and each section was built on a different kind of medieval kind of thing. We had like a medieval thing, and then you had like a Scotland, Ireland kind of a section, and then it was all kind of European based, and they used legends from those, like to create fantasy. They use those legends. Like one of their
That's
rides was
cool.
the Loch Ness monster, and then they had another one. Yeah, they had another ride. It was super cool. It's called Escape from Pompeii, and it was like you were in Pompeii and the volcano burst, and there's a volcano lava chasing you, coming after you, and it
What
was
do
just
they
a
do
really
that
cool
with?
park.
How do they make the lava? Is it like
I don't.
water or like?
I was 14. I don't
Oh,
remember. I mean,
well, that
I
sounds
remember it
cool.
being cool, but I don't remember
Yeah,
that. I remember feeling like it was coming.
that's cool.
Um, and there was they even had like 3D shows and stuff that were all based on original IP that weren't
That's cool.
based on other things, which is just such a cool thing. And it was all based on lore of the different lands were based on a different section of Europe.
Mhm.
And that I just thought that was
That
really
works.
cool.
That works. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. But anyway, looks like, from at least my glance at Wikipedia, it looks like he did a lot of stuff there as well.
No, but I like all these reminders that we want to go and learn more about a lot of these creatives. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
And yeah, Mary Blair, I'd love to read a biography or something of Mary Blair, 'cause she's fascinating, and all I think
If
about.
anyone knows any good ones, recommend them in the comments below.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And Todd James Pierce, you should do a full-on Mary Blair episode.
yeah, yeah.
Because I go, hey, I really like that the cups now are Mary Blair cups. Well, I don't know. You haven't been in a long time. The drink cups are like Mary Blair design.
Sweet.
So
Sweet.
so it's like cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Like a Mary Blair fan, because I know what this is, but I don't know much about her other than a couple designs.
yeah.
So anything else you wanted to touch on this episode?
I just liked the way, it was a well-paced episode. I really liked how they ended it with, acknowledging that it was just like right after the segment about it being a crazy pace to finish all these things and then move them across the country, a combination of chance, talent, and hard work, like really hard work. And then they seamlessly transitioned into a whole like, that one cast member singing the song in the background, and then bring up the point about
languages.
This is right about after World War II, after nuclear bombs, a good, friendly, kind reminder that there's just one moon and one golden sun. And what happens over here matters over there, and vice versa. And that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's so rad that message is so celebrated.
And it still like it resonates with people. I mean, yeah, a lot of people poke fun at the song, but I almost think that people poke fun of it because in the same way that people poke fun of whenever something becomes emotional.
Yeah.
It's like they're poking fun at like, oh, it's this silly song, but they really think about it. It's very emotional when you really get into it.
And that the Sherman Brothers just like right after Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, pull that out of the hat. And then like, it's so damn good and so damn perfect, and just the right time, right place, right thing, combination of a bunch of happy accidents. And then it's so good. That's what you name the ride. You name the ride after the song.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't remember
awesome.
what did they say the title was before?
I don't think they even mentioned. I don't remember if they just the kid boat ride. I don't remember. That's a good question. Like if it even had a name prior to this song.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. All right. Well, I think we about did it. I think we talked about It's a Small World and everything else connected to It's a Small World. And let's see. So next episode is the trains, the vehicles one, right? Oh, nice. I like that.
My preview for next week.
Well, maybe I'll have some vehicle memorabilia next time I'm here, because kids get into strange things, but I have already promised my son that I am going to buy him. He doesn't want he doesn't want any of the toys that you would think about. What he wants me to buy him when we go to Disneyland is the tram, the tram, the tram that takes you from the parking lot to like to the park.
He doesn't want to walk, man. He wants, Daddy, can you buy the tram? Because they ain't using their trams right now. Can you
No, he
just buy
doesn't know
one?
that. We're staying in a hotel right next to it. But he wants that. He wants the toy tram.
Wait, he wants a tram, or he wants a toy version of it?
No, he wants the toy version of the tram.
Do they make a toy version?
Yeah, they do. It's at the World of Disney. It's because we bought I bought him a monorail, and it's just a little toy monorail.
Yeah.
And I know we've looked it up online. He's looked at it. He wants the toy tram. Disneyland tram is that's what he wants. Of, like when we go, we kind of prepare him of like, what's the one thing you want to get, that kind of thing. Cause it'd be very easy to buy him keep wanting more and more and more. So, and that's the one thing that he says he wants is the tram.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't have any Small World merch. As much as I love the thing, I don't have any Small World merch. but I've got lots of monorail merch. So,
Awesome.
so we'll both have merch to share.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching and following along. And yeah, we're out.
Keep consuming and keep creating.